Is that happening now? Yeah, that's happening.
I can't remember who had their last lesson.
I think Westland told Ocie. Yeah, right. Westland told Ocie she had her last lesson.
She did, okay.
Yeah.
They're walking really slowly.
Bucks way, guys. Bucks way. Bucks
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's so wonderful to be here. Having last year been sitting in one of these seats over here. This year has been such a glorious first year of teaching. And I feel like our seniors have made it so by being such a wonderful example of what Highland Hall can truly be. The seniors are kind, they are thoughtful, and they have community foremost in their minds. It's also truly my honor to introduce or to invite Jessica Howard up to this place, who has been such a wonderful mentor to me and encouraged me every step of the way, in addition to all my wonderful students. Thank you.
It's been wonderful having you there. And it's wonderful to be here again. I've been doing this particular speech as your founding and somewhat retired teacher for 6 years now. Of course, I also gave a speech when I was your principal, but it feels different doing it like this. And I confess that it gives me a great deal of pleasure to stand here and look out at all of us and beyond us into the building and look at all the calendars and reflect on my share in building what we have here. It's very satisfying. I don't say that very often. I don't take a lot of credit for what we have here, but sometimes I do. And it just feels really great. And beyond that, I see this as a moment, and I see this moment as a chance to discuss with you folks particularly, but everybody who's here, some aspect of the school's founding ideas or principles. A chance to share a musing on something that seems important in the school's mission. Because without those standards, there would be no school as we know it. So it's important to think about them every once in a while. And we're all busy making choices for what you'll do at town, right? Or what to read next, or what you'll sew next, or what to build, or how to build, or thinking about what your independent study will be like, and how to get it finished in time. You're all busy. And it's very easy to forget the reasons and the meaning for all that activity. The reasons that are sort of underneath or around you or work through us. I think I say this every year, but no harm in that. Sometimes we need to take a moment and stop all the activity. Take a deep breath and look back or in at what lies underneath and what supports us. And I think of graduation as a chance to do that. It's a chance to stop and remember why we're here. And when I try to do this speech every year, I try to find some quality or qualities in the graduating seniors that gives me a place to start, a place to move out from, to try to show you more deeply why the school is structured the way it is. And each year, it's always the same when I think about the seniors, I think how beautifully different they are, not only from each other, but from all the rest of humanity. How each graduate is showing themselves, their special and unique person, and how wonderful that is. It's one of the reasons I love teaching. To support the beauty of each person is, in fact, our mission. And it is one of the pleasures of my life to see how your unique self, that all of you come with, develops. And this year is no exception. 2 more different people you could hardly hope to find. Just look at their senior boards, and you will know how their specific and individual choices have determined their work since they were 5. And before that, but we didn't know them, or I didn't before they were 5. Read their writing, and you hear their specific voice and what they chose to study, to write about in their writing and drawing, and what they recorded in a science observation, their choices for participating in town or for the haunted house. You'll see them emerging, each of them as individuals. Remember that idea that I've spoken about in the last few years? I wonder if somebody can complete the sentence. Can you? Democracy is, anybody remember? Democracy is, somebody? No, freedom of
Freedom
thought.
of
Freedom of thought.
Okay, democracy is freedom of thought in action. Well, it's the making of choices that is, in fact, the action referred to in that sentence. It's the capacity and opportunity to make choices that signifies freedom. Making choices. Having you make choices is one of our core values and processes as an institution. Having the opportunity and capacity to make choices is the essence of freedom. And freedom, your freedom, is one of our goals as an institution. We hope, I'm quoting, to liberate your full capacity with the help of your families, as it says in our mission statement, in the interest of your freedom. So we make you make choices, whether you like it or not, even when it is hard. Part of your journey here is learning to make and live with choices that matter to you. Making choices, not being bound solely by instinct, is one of the defining characteristics of our species, of being human. In fact, it's the one thing you don't have a choice about. We have to make choices in order to live. That's one of the things that we have to do. So it is well to learn to do so thoughtfully. Okay, here's a slightly harder thought. There is a process called sometimes individuation that we all go through, and it means becoming more of an individual and less bound by the group you were born into. Less inclined to think of yourself as a unit with your family or your religion or your nation or your gender, and more yourself. Groups have a way of limiting choices and activities of their members in the interests of something important: survival, safety, and support. We are all inextricably social animals. The question is, what kind of group do we live in? So, one thing that I find interesting, one way to think of the history of our species, especially in the last, say, 400 or 500 years, is as a progression from identifying ourselves very much with the group we're born into, my family, my class, my religion, my nation, to being increasingly just me. And by this I mean that your freedom as individuals to choose specifics has increased over the last 500 years, many times over, relative to the choices of the group you were born into. You can dress, you can wear your hair, you can move, you can marry, you can read, you can play, you can eat, in all kinds of ways that were determined by your group membership 100 years ago or 200 years ago or 300 years ago. And you know that from thinking about books like when you read Laura Ingalls books, and she does things that, quote, girls aren't supposed to do, and nowadays girls do them. That's the kind of restriction I'm thinking about. I know that for some of you older people, the world isn't quite as simple as that, and that there are moments when those restrictions occur all over the place. But I'm sort of moving towards a point here. So. As a species, so we are constantly striving to move away from the dictates of our birth circumstances, our family, perhaps our social class, even our race or gender, to reveal fully the person we think we are, and fully give our gift, whatever it is, to the world. And this seems like freedom to us, and freedom is a great good. However, there's a downside to this wonderful multiplicity of choices. You know the expression, throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Ever heard that? No? Well, sometimes I used to give babies baths in a tub, right? And then when you finished bathing the baby, you threw the water out because you didn't need it anymore. But sometimes the idea was you might, by mistake, also throw the baby out with the bathwater. So you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to think about, when you're getting rid of something, you're supposed to think about what you're really getting rid of. So throwing the baby out with the bathwater means that in getting rid of something you don't need or want, you sometimes get rid of the very thing that was important. So it is as we push against the dictates of family, social group, religion, or nation, or whatever. I have the impression sometimes of incredible amounts of activity and newness just for its own sake, a lot of getting and wanting, and rejection of some group processes because they are restrictive and they take energy and work. And thus, some of us in our world have experienced a great loss of the support and energy that thoughtful and respectful groups can give. The grown-ups among us, and maybe others as well, can recognize that I am sort of referring to a current situation of distressing loss of civil activity. And I point out to us that one of the consequences of that incivility is a loss of choice. In fact, our freedoms are restricted the less civil we are to each other, because the more we are taken up with defending ourselves and being rude to each other. So, in other words, there are some group structures that are in fact the ground on which we make the choices that lead freedom, and when we lose those group structures, we lose freedoms. It's sort of important, if a little odd. Our individual freedoms and capacities to make choices are linked to the ways in which we structure our group processes. Okay, what does this have to do with the seniors? Oddly enough, when I first started thinking about them in relation to this speech, what struck me was not, in fact, where I started with you, how different they are, but rather a way in which they seem to me to be strikingly alike. Quena already referred to this. When Quena asked the group, you, to reflect on something important and to explain the whys and hows of some standard, or explain the value that lies behind some seemingly arbitrary rule, both Carly and Ocie raise your hand and they speak with thoughtful authority about these issues. And I notice that when they do that, we listen. They pretty much nail it every time. And there isn't much more to be said once they've said it. After all, they are senior. Reverend, wise, and grave. It isn't just a word. It means something. In other words, for all the delight and the strength they have in going their own way, take a look, making choices for themselves, they clearly have understood the other end of being human. All our choices are made in the context of a group, whether we know it or not. The group that we try to develop here is one not only of respectful process, but also of generosity and kindness. A group like that, one that strives to have structures of respect, but also the flexibility of kindness and generosity, is a group in which your, or our, the human species' greatest freedom can be achieved. It means we have to accept some restrictions in exchange for the safety and support that lets us fly high. Kind of a paradox. And some of you may notice that somehow, no matter where I start my thought, I tend to end up thinking about this balancing act of human existence. There are at least two reasons for that. One, of course, is this is an issue that interests me, so I speak about it as both a teacher and a citizen. It's like my independent study, it's what I get to choose. On the other hand, I'm willing to assert that another reason I end up with this issue, where am I, of how to balance our individual freedoms and our choices with the demands of group structure and stability, and how the two support each other, is because this is the fundamental question of our time, I think. Ocie and Carly seem to have figured this out. Too bad they aren't in charge. And that isn't entirely a joke. Here, in this place, we strive to create circumstances in which you can learn to maximize your ability to make choices thoughtfully and productively, to be your wonderful self, and also understand the importance of group structures that are respectful, orderly, kind, and generous. And then, when we've done all that work, off you go. And frankly, as you age, and you'll become senior again, next year you won't, but at some other point you'll be seniors again, I hope you will indeed be in charge. To me, you and all of you are the gift that we give the world. Our small effort to help heal in a time that sorely needs healing. We love you and are sad to see you go, but glad to be sending out into the world such vibrant and thoughtful citizens.
And now it is again my pleasure to introduce another wonderful person that I have come to meet here at Highland Hall, which is my wonderful coworker, Ani, who was truly a coworker to me this first year of my own independent teaching practice, because I've worked with children for a long time. This is my, as I told the students yesterday, you were my first true class. Ani gave me advice without making me feel like I was new. She taught me as a true equal. And while we are excited that Brendan will be with us next year, I will truly miss your camaraderie. So let's give a round of applause for Ani.
Hi. So yes, I'm leaving, but we can talk about that another time. Because this is really about these guys. It's so funny, every year I get up and I think, what am I gonna look? What else do I need to say? Here they are. And then I start thinking, well, actually, you know, I know them really well. And that's because they've let me know them. And so what I need to do here is to share with you the way that they have let me know them. Because that's a special gift. And some people are more willing than others to share it. And everybody does it, as Jessica said, in their own way. So I was thinking about these two. And I thought I'd start with an image that actually has come to me in the years that I've known them over and over, and so beautifully arose yesterday afternoon after our amazing gourmet meal, which you can learn more about on the senior project table. And we were outside playing. They were playing 500, and all the kids were, doing the game and playing the game. And I look over, and here's Ocie doing Bollywood dancing, sort of in her own Ocie world, yet at the same time half an ear to the game, ready to grab the ball if it comes toward her. And I think, oh, that's so great. And I watch them playing, and then I look over again, and here's Carly in this dress, twirling, and just her hair is going in her dress, and she's just clearly in the beauty of this moment that she's in. And I thought, oh my God, there's Carly, you know. And so I wanted to share those images with you because in so many ways that behavior sums up for me the everything about them. They have a reverence for the wonder and magic of the world. And that is something that I really respect and bow down to and look up to and try myself to continue to take up as a practice. But these two are like experts. So, you know, that's one part of so much of what they do here. And first when they did their senior boards, I was like, there's so much stuff. Nobody will be able to see anything. But, you know, their body of work speaks multitudes about who they are. And their willingness to share that with you in their boards says something again about their generous hearts. Their visual work is so sensitive and so thoughtful and observant. Their written work is so imaginative and insightful. I can't tell you what a joy it's been to receive the multiple drafts of the stories they have written and the papers, the scholarly work they have done. Each one of those things has been a gift, sometimes maybe a little long. Yes, I did establish a page maximum because of one of these guys. You know who you are. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that all of these things express the way they inhabit this precious gift of being human. And as I've watched them grow, I've seen them really begin to hone in on that question. What is this life, this human life? Who am I? What is my purpose? You know, and I taught them when they were self-groupers, you know, and as I've watched them grow, those questions have become larger, and the questions about how many teeth does a shark have gotten smaller. So through the freedom that Jessica was speaking about, they've been able to really hone in on these fundamental questions that all of us struggle with every day, whether we want to or not. And so what I see in their work is a dogged and endless search for deeper meaning and information. A sort of striving for ever finer stitches. A refined mixing of colors in all the various artistic media that these two take up with such zeal. A commitment to all their relationships, large and small, through both the facile and the challenging aspects of those relationships, because believe me, sometimes it's been really challenging, and I've had to ferry them through that. And they have this never quite ready to be finished approach to their scholarly work. They're always like, oh, can I just do a little more research? Oh, I guess it's done. I think I have one more thing to say. And I'm like, no, hand it in. I'm sure it's good, you know? Because they know there's always more to uncover. There's always more to discover. And they're willing to go there. And so they have this kind of search for meaning and the expression of their understanding of that meaning that is beautiful and confoundingly endless. And I don't think it will ever stop. So this year in particular is a big year at Highland Hall for people who are graduating, because being a senior has a lot of responsibility that goes with it. And at the beginning, and so, that particular question about the fundamental nature of being human has to do with how do I be a person in the world? Thank you, Skylar. So we at the beginning of the year, we all were sitting at the table, and Carly very eloquently and succinctly says, "We aren't natural leaders." And I thought, she was talking about herself, she was talking about Ocie, but she was also talking about this particular group of middle schoolers, that they're just not the kind who are going to get out there and say, okay, you do this, you do that, we need to get this done, come on. And so I started to think, well, what is a leader anyway? What does it mean to be a natural leader, right? And so we, I think, as a group, and then particularly these two, this year embarked on an inquiry into the question of what does it mean to be a leader? Do I have to? Why is it necessary? Maybe we can all just be leaders together. And it's been beautiful to watch them explore this great question, at times with gentle and delicate curiosity. I wonder what would happen again. Or with confidence. Okay, everyone, come on, I want to talk about something else. Or with fatigued and responsible maturity. I guess I have to do this now. And don't all of us grown-ups know those feelings? So as I've said before in many, many different ways, one of the things I love most about teaching is learning from my students. It is the greatest gift. It's always surprising how much more there is to learn when I truly listen and observe and don't take on that natural leadership role, even though that's what I'm supposed to do. I've learned a great deal from these two. And what I've seen in them has been deeply inspiring. So truly the question, how does one lead? At the beginning of the year, I think we all mistakenly thought that you lead in the most obvious ways, by telling people what to do. And if you can't do that, then you must not be a leader. But what we learned is that it's actually quite the opposite. And we learned it with and from these two. So how does one lead? With delicacy, with gentle support and encouragement and little reminders. I'm sure all of you people in your group and South Group know what I'm talking about. With flexibility, listening to others, and really being open to the possibility that you might need to transform your own point of view. As Jessica said, with kindness and generosity. I'm thinking specifically about Carly's senior project here and how she culminated her year with this miraculous gift. With being honest and keeping an eye out for others. With perspective and reflection, and in this case I'm thinking of Ocie's senior project. With being willing to look back on what one has done and how one has changed. And being willing to see the way forward, be it clear or clouded. And with a fearless willingness to ask for help when it's needed, and to give space to others to enter into a co-leadership in those moments. And I really have appreciated the way in which you've been so unafraid to ask for my help and for your peers' help as well. And finally, and most importantly, with love. For all of the different minds and hearts that make up our community. And so, if a natural leader, as I've heard the children say, is a bossy pants, perhaps these two are not going to fit that bill. But if a natural leader is what I've just described, which has been a gleaning of my observations of these two wonderful young women, then I believe we are rich in leadership. They are by far, as Jessica said, the kind of leaders I hope for in our ever-shifting and changing world. Thank you. You're amazing. I so appreciate all you've done.
So here we have an example of something I have had the pleasure of doing all year long, is that when I am a little bit uncertain about either the traditions or the roles or the rhythms of Highland Hall, I can always turn with a smile to Crain and Ocie and be like, and they respond with such good humor and grace. So it's my deepest pleasure to welcome our oldest senior, Ocie. It's been a really long time. It's been a long journey for me to get to this point, and it's been hard to let go. But I'm here to celebrate my time here, say how special it has been, how glad I am that I was able to go to school here. And now I'm leaving and saying goodbye. I am so grateful for my time here and for all the things I've learned and had the opportunity to experience. This school is a unique and special place, and my time here has been really wonderful. All of the students and teachers who have been or still are here are my really, truly good friends. And I can't say that everything was perfect, but some parts that are bad don't make the experience bad. They only make it real. I visited 3 high schools this spring. None of them were really bad, but I found that because I'm so used to this school, I've been here 9 years, it's just so hard to look at other places, and I love this place so much that it's like a second home to me. And it was hard to feel like I definitely want to go someplace else, at least at first. I've never known anything else to compare this school to except preschool, and I feel comfortable here. And if there was a Highland Hall High School, I'd be going there. As I came to accept the reality of my departure recently, I realized the reason I wanted to stay here is because of how I feel here. I feel happy, safe, and content here. I found as I continue to think about the change that for me, deciding things is a process and a challenge, and it can take time. For much of my high school search, when I thought of which high school I preferred and where I wanted to be going next year, I felt bewildered and clueless, but after some time and not even thinking about it that often, I came to the realization that I do have a high school I prefer, although it's not definite I'll be going there. Often expressing and communicating a feeling to another person helps me process the feeling and move on to another stage of the decision. If I'm able to express my feeling, often the feeling will become less strong or dissipate. I've slowly found that although I love this school, there is no more for me here as a student, and even though I have truly loved my time here, I have to move on. Time has passed, and I can't go back in time or stay. To those of you who will be returning to Highland Hall School in the fall, keep your memories as I will, because what you learn and remember
And as you can't go back in time, remembering the things you loved, the things that frustrated you, and the things you learned will help you as you go on in life and let you have a way to revisit what you loved. So, people whose time is not done here, seize the moment, because there will be a time when you won't be here anymore. That time is not now. It's not today. Today is the last day of this school year, and summer awaits us, and I think we all need it. Despite this, there's a whole new school year here at Highland Hall awaiting you, with about 175 days, 420 hours, 252,000 minutes. Does anyone want to figure out how many seconds that is? I used a calculator. It's time here, and trust me, it goes fast. Please embrace and enjoy your time here. It's really precious. It's made me who I am today, and it's been a special part of my life. This school is making the world a better place, and I believe that it will continue to do so for a long time. Our guests, Carly and Anselmo. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here, and thanks to everyone who couldn't be here but still sent congratulations. Highland Hall School has been perfect for me. It's different, fitted to each student's abilities and interests. You can tell how different Highland Hall School is, if not by my personality, then by how high and far every alum has flown after living here. And yes, I do mean living. This is a home. And not to sound too cheesy, but it's also a family. You will always, always be my family. But as families grow and change, kids grow up and start lives of their own, which is exactly what graduating from here feels like. I was a part of this family before I even started going here. As some of you already know, my sibling Lee also went here. So, of course, every afternoon I would go after preschool to pick Lee up. I remember I would walk in with this total confidence in my floofy tutu. And when I started going here, I realized I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Now that I've had a little bit of time to settle in, I feel that confidence again. And I'm sure I'll lose that again the minute I step into high school. No. Actually, I think some of it will stick with me. Because I know that I'll have complete confidence in my education and life here at Highland Hall School. But I'm sure that I will stay a part of this family. I was sitting outside listening to music and trying my best to think about how to conclude this when I realized that I'd really like to leave some of the words from a Jack Johnson song with you. Who's to say what's impossible? Well, they forgot. This world keeps spinning, and with each new day, I see a change in everything. As the surface breaks, reflections fade, but in some ways they remain the same. And as my mind begins to spread its wings, there's no stopping curiosity. I'll find the things they say just can't be found. I'll share this love I've found with everyone. I don't want this feeling to go away. So, in conclusion, I feel ready to leave. I'm excited to move forward with my education. But while I move forward, I will not leave Highland Hall School behind. Thank you. Now for this beautiful poem.
Ocie Tucker. Carly Rose Anselmo. Thank you for coming. This has been a really special time with all of you. And I look forward to many times to come. But Carly and Ocie, thanks so much for being the seniors of my first year. You made it so wonderful and much easier than for the students, in just a moment, we'll be giving out the yearbook. There is refreshments on the side over there. Please be good hosts as always. And we'll get signatures, and then I know that there are festivities for some.
Does being good hosts mean you can't eat all the cookies?
It does, Albert. Thanks for the clarification.
Yes.
Let's have a round of applause for our graduates.
Want to re-announce that the Tuckers and the Anselmos are hosting a picnic afterwards at Lake Parent. Please come. There'll be lots of veggie burgers and not veggie burgers and all kinds of other delightful things, even though the weather's a little but we have covered, okay? So please come.
You're on Sunshine.
Congratulations.
I was proud of us.